You say you want freedom, then you go home, sit on the couch, open your phone, and give away 4 more hours of your life to nothing. That's not freedom, that's surrender with a nicer name. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how comfort is dismantling you piece by piece, and what the Stoics knew about breaking out of it. Stop for a second and be honest with yourself, because nobody else is going to force you to be. You say you want more out of life, more respect, more money, more discipline, a better body, a calmer mind, a woman who looks at you like you're a man worth choosing. You say you want all of it, but look at what you actually do every day. You wake up and hit snooze. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow. You scroll for 40 minutes before you even get out of bed. You eat whatever's easiest, not what's right. You avoid the hard conversation. You avoid the gym when it's raining. You avoid the cold call, the cold plunge, the cold truth. You choose the path of least resistance every single time it's offered to you. And it's offered to you constantly, because the entire modern world is built to hand it to you. Here's the part that's going to sting. You're not failing because you lack opportunity. You're failing because you keep choosing comfort over the thing you claim to want. And you keep doing it because comfort feels like safety, and your brain is wired to chase safety over greatness every single time you let it run on autopilot. The Stoics had a word for this. They didn't call it laziness, they called it slavery. Not the kind with chains you can see, the kind where a man becomes owned by his own appetite for ease. Epictetus, a man who was born an actual slave and understood exactly what real bondage looked like, said the free man is the one who lives as he wishes, and no one can be made to live as he wishes unless he has learned what is and isn't in his own power. Most men never learn that, so they stay in chains they can't even see, convinced they're free because nobody's holding a whip over them. But there doesn't need to be a whip. The couch does the job just fine. Nobody warns you about this one. They warn you about alcohol. They warn you about drugs. Nobody warns you about the slow, quiet addiction to ease, because it doesn't look like an addiction. It looks like relaxing. It looks like self-care. It looks responsible. But ask yourself something. What happens to a muscle that's never challenged? It shrinks. What happens to a man who's never uncomfortable? The same thing happens to his will, his mind, his spine. Comfort doesn't just fail to build you. It actively erodes what you already have. Every time you take the easy option when the hard option was available and you knew it, you're not neutral. You're not standing still. You're going backward. You're teaching your own nervous system that discomfort is the enemy to be avoided at all costs. And a man who believes that will fold the second life gets difficult, which it always eventually does. This is why so many men who look fine on the outside collapse the moment real pressure hits them. A layoff, a breakup, a diagnosis, a financial hit. They had never trained for resistance because they'd spent years running from every small dose of it. The first real storm of their life becomes the storm that breaks them, because they never built the calluses that come from choosing hard things on purpose on a random Tuesday when nobody was forcing them to. The Stoics trained for this deliberately. Seneca used to sleep on hard boards and eat the plainest food, not because he was poor. He was one of the wealthiest men in Rome, but because he wanted to know in his bones that he could survive without the comfort, so the comfort could never own him. He wrote to a friend that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, and that a man should rehearse hardship on purpose so that fortune can never catch him off guard. That's the whole game right there. You don't wait for hardship to test you. You go looking for controlled doses of it on your own terms, so that when the uncontrolled version shows up, and it will, you're not meeting it as a stranger. You tell yourself you avoid the hard thing because you're tired or busy or it's not the right time. That's a story. Here's the truth underneath it. You're not afraid of the workout. You're afraid of finding out you're weaker than you want to believe. You're not afraid of the cold call or the hard conversation. You're afraid of being rejected and having to sit with what that says about you. You're not afraid of discipline. You're afraid of what happens if you commit fully and still don't become who you wanted to be, because then you'd lose the excuse. Right now, staying comfortable, you get to keep the fantasy that you could be great if you really tried. The second you actually try and fall short, that fantasy dies. So a part of you protects the fantasy by never fully trying. That's the real trade you're making, not comfort for safety. Comfort for the ability to keep lying to yourself about your own potential. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, in the middle of running an empire, that a man should stop wasting time arguing about what a good man should be and just be one. He wasn't writing that for an audience. He was writing it because he needed to hear it, because even an emperor with more resources than almost anyone in history has ever had still fought the same pull toward the easy path that you're fighting on your couch tonight. The pull doesn't go away with status, money, or age. It goes away with practice, repetition, reps of choosing discomfort until your nervous system stops treating it as a threat and starts treating it as familiar terrain. Right now, some of you are thinking this sounds like some cold, joyless, monk mode grind. Sleep on the floor, eat plain food, suffer for the sake of suffering. That's not what this is. And if that's what you take from Stoicism, you've misunderstood it completely. The Stoics weren't chasing pain. They were chasing freedom. And they understood something most men today never bother to learn. Freedom has a price. And the price is paid in discomfort you accept voluntarily, on your own terms, before life forces it on you involuntarily, on its terms. There's a massive difference between a man who suffers because life crushed him and a man who trains in controlled suffering so life can never crush him. One is a victim. The other is dangerous, in the best sense of the word, dangerous to his own weakness, dangerous to anyone who underestimates him, dangerous to the excuses he used to hide behind. You're not doing hard things to punish yourself. You're doing them to prove to yourself with evidence that you can handle more than your comfort-addicted brain wants you to believe. Every rep of chosen discomfort is a small deposit into an account you'll need to draw from later. When the job is lost, when the relationship ends, when the diagnosis comes in, when the market crashes. That account is either full because you built it or empty because you spent your whole life avoiding the deposits. Here's the single most important Stoic idea, and once you actually get it, you can't unsee it. Everything that happens falls into one of two categories: things you control, things you don't. Your effort, your discipline, your reactions, your standards, your integrity, that's yours. The economy, other people's opinions of you, whether it rains on your run day, whether someone cuts you off in traffic, whether she texts back, none of that is yours. It never was. Most men spend 80% of their mental energy fighting battles in the category they can't control, while completely neglecting the category they can. They rage at traffic instead of leaving 10 minutes earlier. They obsess over what people think of them instead of becoming a man worth respecting regardless of opinion. They wait for motivation, something entirely outside their control, instead of building discipline, which is entirely inside it. Epictetus put it as bluntly as a man can put anything: some things are up to us and some are not. Our judgments, our impulses, our desires, our aversions, in a word, everything that is our own doing, that's up to us. Our body, our property, our reputation, our position, not up to us. Read that again. Your reputation is not fully up to you. What people think of you, up to them. What is up to you is the man you actually become behind closed doors, when nobody's watching and there's no reputation to protect. Comfort culture has this completely backwards. It obsesses over the uncontrollable, how you're perceived, how things feel right now, whether life is fair, and neglects the controllable, which is what you do with your body, your time, your standards, today, right now, in this exact moment. Flip it. Stop spending your energy on what you can't touch. Spend every ounce of it on what you can. Let me give you 3 images that will make this stick. Your mind is a garden. Left alone, it doesn't stay empty. Weeds grow in it whether you plant anything or not. Comfort, distraction, cheap dopamine, those are the weeds. They don't need your permission to grow. They grow by default. Discipline is the only thing that pulls them and plants something worth having instead. Skip a day of tending it, nothing catastrophic happens. Skip years of tending it, and you don't recognize the garden anymore. Your emotions are waves. You don't stop a wave from forming. That's not in your control. What you control is whether you build a structure strong enough to take the impact without collapsing, or whether you stand there with nothing built and let it knock you flat every time. The wave is coming regardless. The question is only whether you've built anything to meet it with. And your will is a muscle in a weight room. Nobody walks in and lifts their max on day 1. You add small weight over and over on purpose until what used to break you becomes what you warm up with. Every voluntary hard choice, the cold shower, the early wake-up, the hard conversation you didn't avoid, that's a rep. Skip the reps, and don't be surprised when life's actual weight crushes you. None of these images are complicated. That's the point. The Stoics weren't interested in sounding smart. They were interested in giving men tools, simple enough to use in the middle of a bad day. Picture a man in his late 30s. Good job, decent enough life, comfortable, genuinely comfortable. The kind of comfortable most men would call successful. Then, in the space of about a year, he loses that job, his marriage ends, and he's staring at a life that looks nothing like the one he built his identity around. Most men in that position fall apart because the entire foundation of who they thought they were got pulled out from under them, and there was nothing underneath it. No floor, no training, no calluses. Just the comfort, and now the comfort's gone. This particular man doesn't fall apart, not because he's naturally tougher than anyone else, but because for years before any of this happened, he'd been doing something almost nobody else around him was doing. Cold showers every morning, not for the health trend, but to practice choosing discomfort deliberately, so his body would stop treating discomfort as an emergency. Fasting periodically, not to lose weight, but to sit with hunger, and prove to himself he could tolerate an urge without obeying it instantly. Sleeping on a firm mat some nights instead of his bed on purpose, for no reason except to remember he didn't need the comfort to survive the night. None of it was extreme. None of it made headlines. But when the job, the marriage, and the identity all cracked at once, this was a man who had already spent years proving to himself, in small controlled doses, that discomfort was survivable. So when uncontrolled discomfort arrived, the kind nobody signs up for, it didn't find a stranger. It found someone who'd already met 100 smaller versions of it and was still standing every time. That's the entire function of Stoic practice. Not to make your life harder for no reason. To make sure that when life gets harder without your permission, you're not meeting it for the first time. Here's where this gets uncomfortable for a lot of you, because it should. Most men run their entire lives by a single question, whether they admit it or not. Will this feel good? Will this feel good right now? That question runs the show. What they eat, what they watch, who they sleep with, how they spend a Saturday, whether they show up when it's inconvenient. Pleasure is the compass, and pleasure is a terrible compass, because it points toward whatever's easiest in the next 5 minutes, with zero regard for the man you're becoming 5 years from now. The Stoics ran on a different question entirely. Is this the right thing to do? Not the comfortable thing, not the pleasurable thing, the right thing. The thing a man of integrity, courage, discipline, and honesty would do in this exact moment, regardless of how it feels. Marcus Aurelius wasn't asking himself what would feel good when he got out of bed on mornings. He didn't want to rule an empire or face another day of war and politics. He told himself flatly that he was rising to do the work of a man, and that being annoyed at doing what he was made for made no sense. He wasn't chasing a feeling. He was meeting a standard. That's the shift. Stop asking what feels good. Start asking what a strong, disciplined, honest version of you would do. Then go do that, regardless of what your mood votes for. Your mood doesn't get a vote. It never did. You just kept giving it one every time you choose comfort over the harder right choice. You're not just being lazy for a moment. You're handing a small piece of your autonomy over to whatever's easiest. The algorithm, the snooze button, the junk food, the avoidance. And autonomy given away in small pieces doesn't come back all at once. It comes back the same way it left, one deliberate, uncomfortable choice at a time. This is the part almost nobody tells you. Emotional independence isn't a personality trait some men are born with and others aren't. It's built, rep by rep, exactly like a muscle, out of the same uncomfortable choices you've been avoiding. Every time you sit with an urge, instead of obeying it instantly, you get a little more control back. Every time you do the hard thing when the easy thing was sitting right there, you take a small piece of your life back out of autopilot and put it back under your own command. Nobody's coming to hand you this. There's no announcement, no ceremony, no single dramatic moment where you become the disciplined version of yourself. It happens in the choices nobody sees, the workout you do when you're alone and could easily skip it, the early morning nobody's checking on, the hard conversation you have when avoiding it would have been so much easier and nobody would have known the difference except you. So here's where I'll leave you. Freedom was never going to come from more comfort. It was never going to come from an easier routine, a softer life, fewer demands on you. It comes from the opposite direction entirely, from proving to yourself over and over in small controlled doses that you can do the hard thing on purpose before life makes you do it without your permission. The Stoics weren't chasing suffering. They were chasing a version of themselves that couldn't be broken by circumstance because they'd already broken their own excuses first. That's available to you. It doesn't require money, luck, or perfect circumstances. It requires the willingness to choose the harder right thing today in some small way, on purpose, when nobody's watching and nobody would blame you for choosing otherwise. Now, I want to know, what's the one piece of comfort you've been hiding behind that you know, deep down, is holding you back? Put it in the comments. Say it straight. No excuses attached. And if you're done trading your freedom for comfort, subscribe. This channel exists for men who are ready to build the discipline nobody's going to build for them.